大家好，欢迎来到 Blue Rider Art 上海外滩。这次秋季的新展1.65，也是艺术家 Reinoud Oudshoorn 我们所代理的荷兰艺术家在中国大陆的首个展。那跟我在线上的呢，就是艺术家本人在荷兰的连线。那这位艺术家呢，其实在2019年呢，在 Blue Rider Art 的台北敦仁馆做过一次的个展。那这一次呢，是这位我们代理的艺术家第二次的这个个展了，所以我们还是来跟他再聊聊这几年呢，他在创作上有什么样不一样的变化。Hi, good morning, Reinoud.
Good morning, Elsa.
How are you? You look great.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, so because this is your first solo show in China, and probably you would like to tell the audience how you started your art career. Would you like to briefly share with us?
Well, I think in my earliest memories, I probably was about 5-6 years old. I met a sculptor who was living nearby, and I was invited in a studio, and that for me was a kind of magical moment because I was always allowed to drop by in a studio and show him my drawings, and he would give me material and some advice, and if there were a guest, he would call me his colleague. So that was, as a young child, very stimulating. And really, I think from a young child, I always wanted to become an artist. And especially having a studio and creating your own universe. And that's so I think, I don't know if as a child you can call yourself an artist, but that was what I was aiming for. And it never stopped.
And you mentioned you grew up in like a countryside in Netherlands. You walk in the forest or something like that. So you have many inspirations from that. Could you share with us that experience?
Yes, well, as a child, I loved to be on my own, and I was walking through the forest in the fields, and we lived quite isolated. It was about nearly 1 or 2 miles till the nearest neighbor. So there was a lot of free place for me to wander. And yeah, that really inspired me, especially I really enjoyed walking through the fog because that created such a mysterious experience of space. And also stimulated your imagination. At home, I was always making stuff and drawing and so that was mainly what my life was about, creating my own universe. Mm-hmm. And probably it didn't change. I'm still doing that. It is logic as a child. You start drawing, and then. When I went to art school, the most exciting department in art school was the painting department. The sculpture department was quite conservative, so I went to the painting department. And for me, that moment, also as a child, when you have a sheet of paper and which is flat, and if you take a pencil and draw a line, and suddenly it has so much potential of space, that kind of magic always is still part of my work. And at a certain moment, I think I was about 27, 30 years, I saw kind of a limitation in painting. In a way, it became too easy, and it was also limited. I was missing a kind of physical material presence. So slowly I started experimenting about making, next to my painting, also more three-dimensional objects, including in the same exhibition. And then I realized that what I was really fascinated about was to create a bridge between the flat surface of a painting, which is illusion, and the concrete reality of an object or sculpture. And to find that area between is still something I'm focused about, or I'm interested in. So it was a kind of slow process, which I didn't realize at that time, but it was trying to find the next step and trying to find the next question and try to answer it in making sculptures or making work. Yes, that's probably my whole process.
Yeah, so you've mentioned you try to build a bridge and to link the artwork, the illusional imagination space, and eventually the spiritual or the portrait space. You're using the vanishing point because you have lots of mathematics calculations draft. I think it's a kind of a very complicated process. In order for you to come up with an idea and then eventually become a perfect art with that purpose we just mentioned. So could you tell, how do you manage the complicated process?
For me, the most important part from the beginning of making something is being in my studio, which when I start is empty. It's completely. I try to make it completely empty. It's like when you start drawing, it's a white sheet of paper. So my studio becomes a white kind of white place where everything is possible. And then I start fantasizing and sometimes looking at my older work, and then there's a kind of longing for an experience, a kind of visual experience to create space. And then I start sketching, and very often I always have a couple of ideas. Probably always have about 10 ideas which I might continue. So there's never a moment where I don't have any ideas. It's more which to choose and which to investigate. And very often I start drawing on a small scale, and it can become 10, 20, 30 different kind of variations, or trying to figure out what the shape should be, and also what kind of material and the size and all those questions. And when I, at a certain moment, make a choice, then I'm going to try to make it on a life-size drawing. And I think that's really important for me, to really feel the size and the presence of what I'm about to make. And to be precise, sometimes I need a lot of calculations, and that can take quite a while. But because I'm searching for something, that time you spend on calculating and drawing doesn't seem like a lot. It is a lot, but because you focus, it becomes a natural process. It also helps you to think about it. To find the new angles in what you're doing. And then finally, if you have that right, the correct size of it, then you're transforming it into a material.
Mm-hmm. I remember you told us you make one artwork at a time, and you don't want to repeat doing the exactly same work, and you insist that. And can you tell why? Because that's typical, right?
To me, making art doesn't feel like work. It doesn't. It comes naturally. It's like for me, it's like a flow. It doesn't. it doesn't require discipline because it's your own fascination you're following. And because you're curious, you can invest a lot of time without feeling that it costs you any time. It's as long as there is a movement in the right direction, it's okay. And if you have to repeat something, then you already know the end result. So then it becomes work. And for me that's a waste of time. I rather invest the time to make something new than to repeat something I've already done.
You also mentioned solving problems is a very motive for you to create art. Because I'm not an artist, I was wondering why you have so many questions or problems. Could you make some example, like what kind of problems or questions that motivate you for so many years?
Well, yeah, it's constantly a new territory you're invading, and of course you have extreme ambitions. I mean, you want to create things which are impossible to create technically. And so there are always questions. Every time I look at my work, I think, hey, there's another possibility, another layer, another step, and how can I solve that? So I think what is really important, I think in general for every artist, it's raising a question, and then the artwork will become the answer of that question. When I finish an artwork, there will be another question. So it doesn't stop, it doesn't end. Mm-hmm. It's a continuous process. That's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, and because this show named 1.65, yeah, it's because your artwork each artwork had a vanishing point at height of 1.65 meters. People are curious, why 1.65?
The first time I made a piece which was connecting with the floor and the wall, I had to make a decision about the height. Because when there are only wall pieces, you can change that line of horizon in any height. But when I was connecting the floor, then I need to make a decision. And for me, 165 was a kind of, it felt good. I'm a bit higher. I'm 185, but 165 felt like a natural height for me. And that's also what connects all the pieces together. And if you make an exhibition of different pieces, which I love, if in an exhibition I always like to have the glass pieces and the wooden pieces and the metal pieces all together, and by having that same line of horizon, then it becomes an installation. Then every piece will create a kind of space, and all together they will interact, and it's like they will talk to each other and communicate, and all in their different presence will create that same goal of creating more space and also creating a kind of mental space, which is very important.
It is very exciting to see again the hidden, invisible 1.65 meters horizontal line in our gallery. That's a very magical moment when everything on the wall and suddenly you saw the the hidden horizon. My last question is because this is your first show in China, would you like to say something to the audience in China and tell them how to enjoy the work?
Well, first of all, I regret that I can't be there in person, because I would have loved to talk to the visitors and talk about my work and about also their ideas about my work. I think it's what's really important is to just experience the physical presence, create your own ideas and your own associations. I think that's really it. I think my work is kind of inviting to create your own fascination. Yeah, I think it's really important that they just experience. And also the wooden pieces, which are, well, they're more tactile. So it's also, I think it's important that you can touch that and feel the presence of the shape.
Thank you for the interview today, and I hope we can see you soon and meet again. Let's meet again. I think this will be another successful show. So wish us success.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.